The following is an excerpt from the Texas Parks and Wildlife television series.
It's hard to explain because it's a real emotional thing. I find birds absolutely magnificent. I think the colors are incredible, and it just leaves me full of wonderment.
When I first saw these warblers down here, I was just entranced. I couldn't imagine anything so beautiful. And especially there was the black-burning warbler. I think that sold me on this place. That was let's see, that was 1958 or 59.
Today, the birds and the birders still come to High Island, just north of Galveston. Here, under a dense canopy of trees, this thick coastal woodlot provides a haven each spring for a variety of songbirds. Birders hope for a glimpse of just some of the species that pass through on their trip north. Known as neotropical migrants, these warblers, orioles, vireos, and others use these coastal woodlots on their annual migration to breeding grounds throughout the North American continent. In late April of each year, the possibility exists for a phenomenon known as a fallout. Weather patterns can force vast numbers of these neotropical migrants from the sky, resulting in large concentrations of birds in very small patches of woods.
During a fallout, during a migrant grounding, I've seen the most jaded and experienced birders brought to their knees. It's an amazing event.
When you've seen it, then you can only then can you fully appreciate it. It's hard to get across to people how special it is.
And these birds arrive and they're tired, they're hungry, they're thirsty. Consequently, they don't pay a great deal of attention to people. So places like High Island, Candy Apsher Wildlife Management Area are excellent places for people to come and watch these birds as they're preparing for their flights north.
The numbers of birds using these woodlots can vary greatly depending on the weather.
There's a lot of warblers in here today, and yesterday there was not. You see, they had rain in the Gulf last night, and we have a cool norther. And so this is a good day.
To understand why these coastal woodlots are so heavily used, it's helpful to look at the migration routes of neotropical birds. Many of these species winter in South and Central America. In the spring, they begin their migration north, pausing briefly on Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula. From here, the birds either cross the Gulf of Mexico or travel along the coast to arrive at these woodlots. Here they pause again before continuing to their breeding grounds further north. As the exhausted birds approach the Texas coast, these scattered woods are an attractive sight. Often, the first thing the birds will do upon arrival is seek out fresh water to rehydrate from their long trip over the Gulf. The birds also use these freshwater pools to remove any salts that may be clinging to their feathers after the ocean crossing. The dense vegetation found in these woodlots provides welcome food and shelter for the migrants. The variety of plant life, as well as the many layers of vegetation, support the different species that pass through here. Some of these hungry travelers are attracted to fruiting plants, such as this mulberry tree, while others will search the vegetation, hunting for small insects and worms plentiful in these dense woods. And still others just need to rest, to recover from the difficult journey.
They land there because they're tired, they're exhausted, they've been battling a north wind, their fat reserves have been used up. And they need those woodlots because if they had to go another 50 miles to get to the forest of East Texas, more of them would die.
These areas, in that sense, are a critical link between these broad wintering grounds and broad breeding grounds.
To further understand the significance of these areas, one need only look at the surrounding countryside. Woodlots are small islands of habitat scattered within a sea of coastal prairies and marshes. Up and down the coast, development has destroyed many of the woodlots. Additional threats to the birds come from the destruction of forests further inland. Many of our hardwood forests have been cleared and fragmented, opening them up to competing bird species and predators that live along the forest edges. Many of the rich bottomlands where forest once stood have been converted for other uses. To reverse these trends, a variety of governmental agencies, including the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department, have joined together with conservation groups, landowners, and industry to work together in a program called Partners in Flight.
Well, the end goal is to stop the steep decline in native songbird populations. Whatever steps we can take to mitigate this loss, to halt this decline, and to bring back these native populations is the purpose of the project.
The difference between Partners in Flight and managing for an endangered species is that we're doing something before those species become endangered. And in that case, I think that this program will be very successful. Instead of focusing on single species and single habitats, we're looking at protecting ecosystems, providing the whole array of habitat requirements from these species, from their wintering grounds in South America to the breeding grounds up in the northern parts of the United States and Canada.
Partners in Flight is capitalizing on a growing public interest in birds. In recent years, commercial ventures such as this tour, conducted by Victor Emmanuel Nature Tours, have been increasingly successful, helping to raise public awareness and contributing to local economies.
I think people are hungry to get in contact with nature. I think after living in cities with the increased urbanization and being divorced from nature, they were hungry for that, and fishing and hunting provide important outlets for some people, but there were other people that wanted a different way of getting in touch with nature.
The economic impacts of bird watching is phenomenal. This includes everything from the sale of bird seed to the purchasing of binoculars and bird books. 1989, 61 million bird watchers spent over $1 billion pursuing their hobby. The local economy of Rockport, Texas realized about $6 million from the bird watching community. So the economic benefits are there. And it will just increase because the #1 outdoor recreational sport in America right now is wildlife watching.
These birders, and others like them, have helped focus national attention on the plight of migratory songbirds. While these coastal woodlots have long been a springtime destination for birders, it wasn't easy convincing governmental agencies of the importance of these areas.
They were small, and at that point in time, people really questioned the value of them for neotropical migrants. Birds didn't breed here, birds didn't winter here. How in the world could there be a value? We certainly had empirical experience that said they were extremely valuable. It just took us a while to sell it.
Today, the Partners in Flight program hopes to reverse the declines of recent years by increasing public awareness of the need to preserve and expand existing coastal woodlots.
The more that people understand about these birds and have a gut feeling for them, the more likely they are to become active in their conservation. So I think that these coastal woodlots are very important for that reason. These birds are at a crossroads, at a geographic crossroads here and at a crossroads in their conservation. Many of the populations are declining, but they haven't declined to the point that they're on endangered species lists. This means that we still have a lot of flexibility and a lot of opportunity for conserving those populations.
Well, I would say to everyone that if they can do something to save the habitat, to save this area and anything like it on the Gulf Coast and all the way up the migration path, they should do it. If they can donate some money or if they can take part and volunteer to work, well, that's the best thing that we can do, I think, for the birds, yeah.
On the Naturalist Journal, Texas is the winter host to the largest concentration of cranes in the world. And as the days grow shorter, the high plains echo with the calls of sandhill cranes. After nesting in the Arctic regions of Siberia, Alaska, and Canada, large numbers of sandhill cranes migrate south for the winter. They arrive in Texas and New Mexico in October and November each year. Some sandhills can be spotted as far south as the Gulf Coast, but the majority of these cranes will spend their winter in the vicinity of small lakes within the Panhandle and High Plains of Texas. Although sandhill cranes are not technically classified as waterfowl, they are dependent upon wetlands for roosting.
Sandhill cranes can be found roosting in saline lakes or playa lakes, but they really like these saline lakes because the saline lakes are shallow and there's not much growth around them. They can see for great distances. They can get out in the middle of this saline lake and feel safe from predators.
Agricultural fields dominate the West Texas plains. It is here that sandhill cranes spend their days feeding on various grains, cottonseed, and peanuts left over from harvest. But peanuts can prove to be a lethal meal for the cranes.
When we get a hard freeze and the peanut shell cracks, there can be a mold or a fungi form on that peanut. It's a mycotoxin, and it's highly, highly toxic to the sandhill cranes. They'll eat these peanuts, and if you get a large concentration on a peanut field with a lot of these infected peanuts, then you can have large die-offs.
Fortunately, cooperation by area farmers in plowing under waste peanuts has minimized this problem. Sandhill cranes do occasionally cause serious crop damage. In order to reduce crop losses for farmers, as well as provide hunting opportunity for the sportsmen, sandhill cranes have been hunted in Texas since 1962, but their population has continued to increase. Although the sandhill crane resembles its endangered relative, the whooping crane, sandhills are gray in color, while whoopers are white with black wingtips. Hunting regulations in Texas are designed to prevent sandhill crane hunting when whoopers are passing through an area. Unlike many species of birds, once a pair of sandhill cranes mate, they stay together for life, and after returning to their northern nesting grounds in early spring, both share responsibilities in raising their young. As long as there is an adequate food supply on the high plains and wetland habitats remain for roosting, sandhill cranes will continue to make Texas their winter home.
Each spring along the Texas Gulf Coast, wading and shorebirds gather, feeding in the warm, shallow waters of the coastal bays. They congregate in large colonies of mixed species, seeking safety in numbers, as they roost side by side in the island trees. The birds come here to nest in the protection of sanctuaries which dot the Texas coast. Today, these coastal rookeries offer a degree of security for these colonies. However, these large concentrations of birds, all sporting brightly colored breeding plumage, were once the target of market hunters, and their numbers greatly diminished.
The reason that these birds were killed was for their millinery, that is, feathers that they would be growing during the breeding season, and which would be then taken, processed, and fixed onto hats and bonnets of the period.
In the late 1800s, it became increasingly popular for the emerging middle classes to utilize these feathers and plumes in fashions of the day.
So the herons, particularly the white egrets, the roseate spoonbills, things that looked very elegant on evening attire were the ones that mainly came under the gun, and that extended all the way down the Atlantic seaboard and also around the Gulf Coast into Texas.
Today, the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department works with a variety of public and private organizations to protect these birds. While legislation has contributed to a recovery for many of these species, problems remain. The biggest threat today is from simple human disturbance. Picnickers, anglers, and bird watchers who disregard the signs placed along the shores of island sanctuaries. Some of the species most heavily impacted by human disturbance are the terns, gulls, and skimmers, which nest along the open beaches. Not only can they be driven from their nests, but the rituals of courtship can also easily be disrupted. These laughing gulls are engaged in a courtship behavior, which ends with the male making a ritualistic offering of food to the female. One of the larger wading birds found in these colonies is the reddish egret, currently listed as threatened by the state of Texas. A white phase of this species inhabits the same range as the darker birds. The white phase is thought to occur more commonly the farther south you travel along the Texas coast. Red or white, the reddish egret is one of the most elegant of the Texas coastal birds. This egret is well adapted to life here. Like many of the wading birds, the reddish egret has long splayed toes, which enables it to perch in the shrubbery found along the coast, as well as allowing them to walk on the soft sandy bottoms of the bays and estuaries as they search for food. Another large wading bird found in these colonies is the great blue heron. Populations of the great blues are generally much more dispersed than many of the other species found in these colonies. Great blue herons seem to be as at home nesting far inland as they are in these coastal shrubs. The smaller, black-crowned night heron can also be found here. These herons are known to prey on the eggs and young of other birds. One of the more striking-looking birds to nest along the coast is the white ibis. With its highly specialized bill, the ibis is able to feed on the small organisms that burrow into the bay floor. As unique as the white ibis appears, it is not the most unusual-looking bird to inhabit the Texas coast. That title should go to the roseate spoonbill. These roseates are in their peak breeding plumage, sporting the wispy pink chest plumes and vibrant colors of the breeding season. Like the flamingo, the spoonbill's dramatic color is derived from a diet of crustaceans that thrive in the warm waters of the Gulf. Of all the birds found in these colonies, the roseate spoonbills will seek out the highest spots in the island vegetation to roost and build their nests. This gives them the best vantage point from which to watch for approaching predators. Like the ibis, the roseates have a very specialized bill that allows them to feed in the shallow water. Using these very sensitive mandibles, they are able to feel out the tiny invertebrates that live along the bottom. Shaking their head in a side-to-side motion, they strain these small creatures from the water and mud where they live. During the breeding season, the roseate spoonbills are perhaps the most shy and retiring of all the birds found in these nesting colonies. Even one disturbance during the breeding cycle can drive them away from a nesting site. In the spring, it is especially important to heed the warnings placed along the edges of many of the sanctuaries and not approach these colonies. These coastal rookeries are fragile places that the birds must have to survive. With continued cooperation from the public, these birds will be able to return to these nesting sites for years to come.
Next on the Naturalist Journal, we'll study nature's fascinating jewel of flight, the hummingbird. With wings beating an average of 60 times per second, the hummingbird can fly forward and backward, hover in midair, and perform spectacular aerobatics. The hummingbird's speedy flight requires a vast amount of energy. They get their energy from flower nectar and, increasingly, artificial nectar from feeders like these. John and Pauline Roberts of Bayside have been feeding hummers for nearly 15 years. During fall migration, feeders provide supplemental fuel for the birds' long journey across the Gulf.
There's not another bird in the world like them, and it's amazing. And they're very entertaining too. And I love taking care of them. I really do.
And they'll just put on a real good show for you the whole time.
Keeping feeders properly maintained is important to the health of hummingbirds. Cleaning feeders every 2 to 3 days is recommended to prevent mold and fungus from developing, which can harm the bird's respiratory system. Just a few miles from Bayside, birders from across the nation attend the annual Rockport-Fulton Hummingbird Celebration.
The Hummingbird Celebration is a very good example of ecotourism. That means that we have a natural resource here. In this case, it's the spectacular migration in the fall of the ruby-throated hummingbird through our area. And so we take that as a vehicle to educate our local people on the need to protect and preserve that resource that we have by not destroying its habitat.
No matter what the habitat, hummingbirds are very territorial and have been known to attack larger birds.
I put seed feeders out, and I had a cardinal on the seed feeder, and it hangs close to my hummingbird feeder, and I guess he thought he was getting too close to his territory, and he dive bombed and kept coming at the cardinal till the cardinal flew away.
An action you wouldn't expect from such a small and delicate creature. With its size, iridescent color, and aerial display, the hummingbird is a natural backyard entertainer.
As the days become shorter and the nights grow longer, the skies come alive with the sound of weary travelers. As fall approaches, many species of birds begin their migration south for the winter. Perhaps the most spectacular group of migrants are the millions of geese that pour into Texas each autumn.
Well, Texas is one of the three major wintering waterfowl areas in the nation. And we just, for example, in the Central Flyway, we winter over 50% of the waterfowl in the Central Flyway. Well, the four flyways in the U.S. are the Atlantic, the Mississippi, the Central, and the Pacific Flyway. We're one of the 10 Central Flyway states.
Well, the thing about the Texas coast particularly is it's the terminal migration route for many of our migratory birds, particularly the waterfowl species. Most of our ducks and geese species, this is the end of the migration route for them. This is as far as they have to come to find the food and the cover and all the requirements they have to make it through the winter season.
The first of these waterfowl to arrive in Texas are the white-fronted geese, which appear as early as October. Named for the white patch on their forehead, white-fronted geese are predominantly gray-brown with a white rump. Adults develop black irregular bars across their chests. Many people call these geese speckle bellies, or simply specks. Next to arrive are the snow geese, easily recognized by their snow-white body and black wingtips. Tawny when immature, snow geese develop their characteristic white plumage as they mature into adults. For years, people thought blue geese were a completely different species from snow geese. In reality, blue geese are a different color phase of the same species. When mature, blue geese have a white head and neck, offset by a dark gray body. Last to arrive are the Canada geese. With their gray-brown bodies, black necks, and white chin straps, Canada geese are one of the more distinctively marked species. Male and female geese appear very similar, unlike the ducks, in which the males are more colorful than the females. Geese are gregarious by nature and tend to stay in large groups. Often, different species can be found feeding and roosting together. When geese are on the wing, they tend to fly in long diagonal lines, or in a V formation. Historically, most geese wintered along the Texas coast. Today, their winter range extends almost 100 miles inland due to one major factor: farming. As early as the 1840s, settlers farmed the coastal prairies for rice and other crops. Today, from Beaumont to Corpus Christi, over 350,000 acres stretching across 20 counties are cultivated for rice. Other crops, such as milo, sorghum, peanuts, and corn, are also grown here. Excess from the harvest left in the fields provides waterfowl with a virtual banquet. In the 1950s, farmers started leaving their pastures flooded for the winter. This combination of an ample food source, together with an attractive roost site, can result in a spectacle of wildlife. Since the 50s, many farmers have managed their property for waterfowl, especially geese. One problem with such large concentrations of geese is the potential for disease to quickly infect a roost site or feeding ground. In Texas, state and federal biologists monitor the wintering waterfowl population and keep watch for any signs of disease. Drought in 1989 and 1990 contributed to an outbreak of avian cholera. Carcasses of diseased birds posed a threat to the rest of the population. Authorities removed carcasses wherever they found them in an effort to contain the bacteria. If bacteria were to infect a congested roost site, birds moving to adjacent areas could spread the disease. Avian cholera is a threat to all birds, not just geese. Biologists were vigilant in their search and collection of infected birds. The Texas Parks and Wildlife Department and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service are responsible for monitoring waterfowl. During the fall and winter, biologists conduct monthly aerial censuses to assess the status of the waterfowl population. For now, at least, there is optimism about the future.
The status of geese in the whole North America is very good. Most of the geese breed in the Arctic, and this is beyond the development of man, so that their nesting grounds aren't currently threatened. But they have to winter in the coastal areas, like Texas, and we hold a key to much of their future.
Turn your backyard into a wild bird sanctuary. We'll show you how next on the Naturalist Journal. Texas has more species of birds than any other state in the nation. This incredible diversity is luring people from all over the world and all walks of life to pick up their binoculars and take to the Texas countryside. But you may have to go no further than your own backyard to see an amazing variety of birds if you know how to draw them in.
Hey, there's a homer.
There's a homer. To attract birds, you need to provide the three essentials: food, water, and cover. Many people hang up bird feeders in hopes of luring in birds. The variety of species that frequent your feeder will vary, depending on what kind of seed you use. The black oil sunflower seeds are the most nutritious choice and are eaten by most seed-eating birds. Not all birds eat seeds, but they do all need water. From elaborate waterfalls to simple bird baths, water is a vital part of the backyard habitat. cover is often overlooked but is just as important to the birds as food and water. Trees and bushes furnish a natural refuge where wild birds can build nests for young and hide from would-be predators. And they can also provide a built-in smorgasbord.
In order to attract native birds, you always need native plants. And so it makes sense to attract the birds with the things that they've been eating for all of these years. This one right here is American beautyberry, and it produces these fine purple seeds. This will fill with these seeds, and when the first freeze comes, the leaves fall, exposing all of the seeds, and mockingbirds, all kinds of birds will come and visit the home garden.
Native trees and bushes are easy to care for, and they enhance the beauty of your yard, making it an even more enjoyable place to watch birds. With the essentials for a wild bird habitat met, trees and bushes for cover and food, seed in the feeder, and clean water in the bird bath, now all you need is a little patience. Soon the birds will discover their new sanctuary, and your backyard will become a haven you will enjoy almost as much as the birds will.